Once, in a land where rivers shimmered like gold and peace reigned across every border, there lived a king named Heron. He was not just a ruler, but a symbol of generosity. The people adored him. Each morning, before the city awoke, he rode through the streets in a magnificent chariot, distributing food to the poor, feeding stray dogs, and ensuring that no soul slept hungry under his watch. They called him the guardian of the helpless, a living saint, a noble king with a heart of gold. One morning, as he bent down to feed a group of stray dogs, a cunning minister leaned in and whispered flatteringly, "Your Majesty, without you, these creatures would perish. You are their savior. Without your hand, they would have no hope." The king gave a faint smile, basking in the praise. But nearby, an old sage sitting beneath a tree let out a soft, amused laugh. The king turned to him, puzzled. "O wise one," the king asked, "what do you find so amusing?" The sage replied calmly, "Forgive me, your Majesty, but the minister's words made me smile. It is not you who feed them. You are merely a vessel. The true giver is the Almighty. We are only the hands through which he provides. When we give, let it be with love, not pride. For love is the only language all beings truly understand." The king's face darkened slightly. The sage's words unsettled him. Could this old man truly believe that his generosity was not his own? His pride stung. That night, the king made a quiet decision. He would prove the sage wrong. The next morning, he climbed into his chariot, as always, the baskets of food still overflowing. But this time, he gave nothing to the poor. The dogs followed, their tails wagging, their eyes filled with hope. But he passed them by. One day became two. Two became five. The streets, once alive with laughter and grateful voices, fell into silence. The stray dogs, once energetic, now wandered like ghosts, thin, weak, and weary. Then, on the seventh day, the king rode past the sage once more. He stopped his chariot and called out proudly, "Look, old man, I haven't fed them for days. Look how frail they are. Is it not clear now? It was me who sustained them, not your so-called Almighty." The sage rose slowly, his eyes calm. "Tell me, your Majesty," he asked gently, "have you noticed how they still breathe? How they still linger, hoping, not attacking?" The king scoffed. "They are barely alive. A few more days, and they'll be gone." The sage nodded. "Perhaps, but even now, their lives are not in your hands. If they survive, it is his will. If they perish, it is also his will. True kindness, your Majesty, is not about proving your importance. It is about giving with humility, without expecting applause." The king clenched his fists. He would prove the sage wrong, once and for all. The next day, as he rode through the city with his chariot full of food, something unexpected happened. Midway, the chariot's wheel struck a hidden stone and shattered. The vehicle toppled. The king fell to the ground, groaning in pain. His food baskets tumbled, spilling bread and fruit across the dusty road. As he lay there, helpless and bruised, the stray dogs gathered around him. For a fleeting moment, fear gripped the king's heart. Would they attack? Would they devour the food? But what happened next left him speechless. The dogs did not touch the food. Instead, they whimpered softly and approached him, not with hunger, but concern. One gently licked the wound on his arm. Another lay beside him, pressing its body close to warm him. Others stood guard, growling at anyone who dared come too close. And then, once again, the sage appeared, walking slowly, his robes flowing in the breeze. "Do you see now, your Majesty?" he said. "Even in hunger, these creatures chose love over survival. They did not care for you because you fed them. They loved you because your presence once brought them comfort. You gave out of pride, but still, love found its way through." The king's eyes welled with tears. He looked at the dogs surrounding him, the same ones he had ignored for days. He thought of the poor he had once helped, not to serve them, but to uplift his own image. And in that moment, his pride crumbled. He whispered, "I was blind. I thought giving made me greater. But I gave to be seen, not to serve." He turned to the sage and bowed deeply. "From today onward, I will give not out of vanity, but from the heart, not for recognition, but because love, real love, asks for nothing in return. From that day forward, King Heron was no longer known as the generous king. He became known as the humble king. He walked the streets without his chariot, offering food by hand. He listened to the hungry. He sat with the sick. He spoke less. And when he gave, he looked into the eyes of those he helped. He no longer needed praise. He had found something greater, compassion without pride. And his kingdom, in turn, blossomed, not with riches, but with love.